Okay, picture this for a second. You walk to your mailbox, casually tear open your electricity bill for the month, unfold this tiny little piece of paper, and bam, staring right back at you is a charge for 25,000 rupees. I mean, how would you even react? Would you panic? Would you just assume it's some sort of sick joke? Well, in the brilliantly chaotic world of the animated series Honey Bunny, that exact shockwave hits the character Paw Pot. He comes storming in, completely outraged by this massive number on such a tiny piece of paper. And honestly, it's a moment of pure, concentrated panic that literally any adult watching can instantly relate to.
Welcome to today's Explainer. Today we're breaking down a fascinating narrative from a kid's cartoon that hilariously and quite sharply mirrors the real-world frustrations of adulting. It's actually amazing how a show designed for children manages to capture the absolute absurdity of everyday responsibilities. You know, from dealing with government red tape to the utter gamble of hiring household help. We're going to look at two distinct, incredibly funny crises that the characters in Honey Bunny face and see exactly what they teach us about the everyday chaos of passing the buck.
So it all really boils down to this one big question. How do you survive a 25,000 rupee electricity bill and a thoroughly useless babysitter? These are the two monumental hurdles thrown at our characters. And what's so fascinating is that their survival strategy in both situations relies entirely on navigating sheer, unadulterated incompetence. Let's take a look at exactly how they handle these two very relatable nightmares.
Okay, let's dive into this. Crisis number 1. The massive bill shock.
Right, so when Bopit actually brandishes this 25,000 rupee bill, the immediate reaction from the group isn't just anger, it's actually guilt. Because when they stop to think about it, their daily household habits aren't exactly eco-friendly. They start rapidly listing off their domestic sins. The AC is running constantly. The TV is just left on in the background for no reason. Mobile phones are plugged in and charging all day long. And then there's the relentless overusage of the mixie and the microwave. It's a brilliant little sequence because it forces the characters and us as viewers to pause and think, wait, do we actually use that much power? They even briefly consider a life with no TV, no mobiles, and no cooking, which, of course, sounds like a total nightmare. But after a quick moment of panic, reason sets in. They realize like even with all of these appliances running nonstop, 25 grand is simply impossible. There has to be a mistake. So they decide to march right down to the electricity board.
Which brings us to the second phase of this crisis: navigating bureaucratic chaos.
If you've ever had to dispute a bill at a government or a municipal office, oh man, you are going to feel this in your bones. The characters march into the electricity department expecting answers, but they immediately hit a brick wall. They arrive, and the peon straight up tells them to come back later because it's lunchtime. When they point out that it's nowhere near 1 p.m., the peon effortlessly delivers this incredible line. I am a peon. Whenever I am hungry, it's lunchtime. It immediately sets the tone, doesn't it? The rules of a functioning society do not apply inside this building.
From there, it's just a step-by-step descent into total administrative madness. Step 1. They're directed to Salvi Madam, who supposedly handles billing problems. But Salvi Madam isn't doing her job. No, she is literally in the middle of fulfilling a massive side business order for puris right there on her office desk. When they help her finish her cooking, she repays them not by fixing the bill, but by passing the buck to Srivastava. So, step 2, they bother Srivastava, who is frantically trying to finish his child's drawing project for school during office hours. He tells them to just come back tomorrow. They push back, and finally they reach step 3, Boss Chatterjee Madam. Now, is the boss managing the office? Nope. She is sitting at her desk knitting a sweater for her daughter's upcoming delivery, completely ignoring her actual duties.
So the absolutely crucial point here is, how do you get a bureaucrat to actually do their job? Well, you've got to speak their language. Pure self-interest. Chatterjee Madam is busy complaining on the phone that a diamond in a bracelet she ordered is too small, and she needs it exchanged by a specific jewelry company. Our characters overhear this and pull a brilliant bluff. They pretend that their friend, Miss Kotkar, is actually the high-level manager at that exact diamond company. They casually drop the hint that if the boss doesn't fix their electricity bill in 5 minutes, she's going to end up spending days bouncing between customer service managers just trying to get her diamond exchanged.
And honestly, just like magic, the threat to her personal jewelry exchange suddenly makes the bureaucracy incredibly efficient. Chatterjee Madam barks an order, and within seconds, Srivastava comes running back in. And here's the fantastic comedic punchline to all of this. It was a simple meter-reading mistake all along. The real bill isn't 25,000 rupees, it's just 3,000. The crisis is totally averted, but only through a hilariously manipulative negotiation.
But hey, the universe definitely isn't done with them yet. Let's transition into our second crisis, the babysitter blunder. Now, what's really interesting here is the massive gap between expectation and reality. Ms. Karkeअगर gets called away on a sudden overnight work trip, and following some genuinely terrible advice from a character named Dr. Bola, she hires a supposedly highly recommended babysitter. When the kids hear a babysitter is coming, they're devastated. Their expectation is this classic, strict authoritarian figure who's going to enforce early bedtime, stop them from playing, and just totally ruin their fun. But the reality? The reality is Nandu. And Nandu turns out to be terrified of the dark, absolutely demands that lullabies be sung to him, and snores loud enough to wake the dead.
Actually, if you want to perfectly sum up Nandu's absolute uselessness, look no further than this quote. When the kids confront him for making them sing him to sleep, he confidently fires back, "When I sit, I am a babysitter. I am lying down now, so I am just a baby." You really just have to appreciate the sheer, unapologetic laziness of that logic.
The whole night basically devolves into a scenario where the kids are desperately trying to babysit the babysitter. Just look at this ridiculous list of demands Nandu makes. First off, he straight up refuses to sleep without classical music playing and the glaring lights turned completely on, which obviously keeps everyone else awake. Then, he literally forces the kids to sing the traditional lullaby Chanda Mama Dorke to him. Later in the night, he wakes everyone up because he's too scared to walk to the bathroom alone and demands an escort. And the absolute peak of the chaos? He forces the exhausted children into a middle-of-the-night game of aggressive dodgeball. Instead of keeping the kids safe and resting, Nandu systematically terrorizes them with his own childish needs.
All right, bringing it all together, chaos and responsibility. When Ms. Karkeअगर finally gets home the next morning, she expects to find her kids having completely terrorized the poor babysitter. Instead, she finds the children completely exhausted and traumatized by Nandu's ridiculous demands. What this cartoon so brilliantly illustrates is the absolute hilarity of passing the buck. Whether it's Salvi Madam making puris instead of checking the billing readings, Srivastava doing his kids' homework on company time, Chatterjee Madam prioritizing her diamond bracelet, or Dr. Bola passing off Nandu, a grown man who is afraid of the dark, as a competent babysitter, the comedy is driven entirely by extreme incompetence. The system only works when people actually take responsibility, and in this animated world, absolutely no one wants to do that. The characters only survive by either bluffing the system or just enduring the madness until morning.
Which leaves us with this final, kinda amusing thought to wrap up our explainer today. Looking at the electricity board's total dysfunction and that truly disastrous babysitter recommendation, are we the ones creating our own chaos by blindly trusting the wrong people to fix our problems? It's a hilarious lesson wrapped up in a cartoon. But it definitely makes you think twice the next time you get a recommendation or, have to wait in line at a government office. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive. Stay curious, stay observant, and I'll see you in the next explainer.